Notably, for the most cases, the emphasis on health is not directly tied with this pandemic, but the health conscious mind and the awareness regarding health is increasing rapidly and unprecedentedly among the people globally during the pandemic. And this pandemic has raised those alarm for the people who have some health concern, have some health issues in the past, and has suffered in this pandemic era. Although there is some widespread sense that is most publicly surveyed that the global pandemic has changed people's lifestyle, people's lives. In most places, people who mention health as something that gives them meaning are no more likely to mention this pandemic than those who do not emphasize on those health, give some importance to the health issues. Some people who mention both because they have health problems that have been compounded by the disease, causing additional difficulties. Currently being self-quarantined due to health issues and to keep away from this pandemic, God is what keeps me going. While another described their predicament as years of personal work to overcome those anxiety and depression took a hit with social distancing. Still other who mention both health and this pandemic in the responses that are largely appreciative of their health because of the global pandemic has occurred and that has changed the way people think. The pre-pandemic era and the post-pandemic era has been changed, and that is the reason why during this pandemic what is happened to the society, to our daily health lifestyle, and the impact of this pandemic era has created some permanent and persisting changes in the lifestyle of the many of the people across the globe in the post-pandemic era. There's the changes we can see, we can witness in a large scale, and that's the important aspect we also see in the coming years. The next 5 to 10 years is very important for those people who suffered most or likely to be hit in those areas, and how they treat it, how they behave, how they respond to this global pandemic situation in future. And the health and those responses are largely is importantly fulfilling those lives that are things for do sports activity, meaning daily routine exercises, eat healthy diet, secure a solid lifestyle. And now in this pandemic we still have to make sure that you get enough exercise and try to bring those structure into life by making a day by day schedule. The family, careers, material well-being, friends, family circles, health are the top sources of meaning. They vary in importance across those public survey. Many countries' choices are explained by those important parameters that are surveyed and estimated, or we can say manipulated those data that reflect the topic of many important sources, and they generate those meaning of life, survival for the fittest, and highlight what the common communities and the difference between those advanced economies emerges. The institutions and those attributes of where the people live, the top sources of those meaning, family, occupation, and material, that well-being. The public health insurance system is good, medical service is convenient, and also people thought that the satisfaction level with this political system is also involved to survive in this difficult period and this emergency situation across the globe. And the rule of law and the human right also become a very important, because it's a free, but anybody can misuse this, anybody can create those disturbance, and that create a problematic for the future in many families or the society. To restate in those stable economy, well controlled new pandemic era and easy to access those medical care and treatment as the meaningful, as the most important society are also largely depends on those Asia and Asia Pacific region, where the reference of this pandemic do not tend to coincide with negativity. Instead, most praise how well their government has handled those things. The topic of faith, religion, spirituality, that is one where some society notably differ, and outside those US region is never one of the top 10 sources of meaning they're cited, and more than 5% of non-American public mention in US. However, 15% mention religion or God as a source of meaning. The fifth most mentioned topic for some that emphasize on a role that play in the life, and they rely on those every human to benefit the life. Other noted that the benefit that's come from being a part of the organized sector, such as the tough time is come ahead and we have to stay strong and be motivated. That's important factor. If life is not fulfilling right now, this not create those demand or not meet those demand, wait and see how the things is going changes and how things become normal, and we can assume and we can prepare for the future. That hopefully creates some hope and some important lesson that we can learn from this difficult time period, and we are observing to some important decisions, and we can make those important decisions to survive in a difficult situation, and those conditions will generate some important ideas. We can use those important ideas to make the life more beautiful in future time. Across those important services, more often than not, much more likely to cite their religion in their answer to those who are frequently attendees. UK, Australia, France, New Zealand, Sweden also stand for some important emphasis on the nature to some other survey, and each country nature is one of the top 8 sources of the meaning. UK too, hobbies and activities are relieved, and many are in 1 to 5 mentioned for their hobbies, something that gives them satisfaction in life, ranking only behind those family and friends, and explore more about how each society is similarly and different to the read about where the people get some important factor to develop those important factor that makes life so beautiful. And people also tended to mention the fewer things that makes life meaningful in their response that did people survey elsewhere. And for example, that these difference help explain why they're giving a particular answer in certain publicly and public policy to appear much lower than others. That's the important respect and aspect, that people of higher level of education and the higher income lead to more ideological spectrum that would likely to cite it for the nature and source of meaning than those who place themselves on the right directions. This partnership and those ideological feel find those meaning and the mention of freedom and independence in the future times. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.